Today we're going to be talking about becoming a wife without losing the woman you are becoming. This is going to be different from what you may be thinking, so stay with me till the end. Hey, my Momafey family. Welcome to the Momafey Becoming Me podcast. Come on in. You know the drill by now. Take a seat and take a moment to listen to what I'm putting down today. For those of you, this is your first time, I'm Momafey, and I am on a mission. I am here to elevate women who are becoming, women who are growing into themselves in real life. I have 40 plus years in healthcare, and I bring lived experience as a wife, a mom, a nurse, a leader, a manager, a coach, and I'm a woman who has walked in many seasons in life. This podcast is for women who know she is becoming and is ready to understand what that really means. If no one has checked in with you on this week, I am. How are you really doing as a woman first? And then a wife, for those of you who are wives. Not what it looks like online, not what people assume. How are you really doing? This week, we are talking about what it is to really become a wife. And this is for those of you who are already a wife, or those of you who are engaged, or those of you who one day want to become a wife. The title of today's episode is Becoming a Wife with Love, Boundaries, the Truth No One Talks About. It's not about just planning a wedding, and it's not about carrying the title, but becoming a wife in your mind, your spirit, your habits, and your boundaries. And this process happens of becoming is in your life. It happens while you are really in the relationship. And we're going to find out as we go through all of these becomings that I'm going to talk about now and in the future, that every one of these becomings happens while you are walking through that process. You can go and get a lot of the information beforehand, how to become a mom, how to become a wife, how to become a business leader, whatever it is that you're trying to become. But you can't become the thing unless you are in it and walking through it, because that's where the true becoming begins. So if you are anything like me, you really didn't know what all of this meant when you said I do. And guess what? Neither did he. But today, this episode is all about you. So let's begin where it all began. When God created you, in Genesis, God created human beings in his own image, and in the image of God, he created them male and female. And this is going to be very important as we go along in this today. God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign," that means rule, "over the fish, the birds, the animals." And when he completed you, he looked at everything he made and he said it was good. What that really means is that before you became a wife, you were created in the likeness of God. You were blessed. You was given authority. You were called good. You can think, reason, and choose. You can love, forgive, and create. And you have an awareness of right and wrong. You also have the ability to lead, to steward, and that means manage. And you have influence, and that means also authority. Because being a wife does not erase that. Becoming a wife builds on that. Then we also see where it talks about in Proverbs, a very familiar scripture that says, "Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? Her husband can trust her," meaning trust her judgment. "She will greatly enrich his life. She also builds a field with her earnings, and she plants a vineyard." This woman can also make her dealings profitable. And she also make things to sell to other merchants, meaning she go out and she do deals. And her husband praises her. Notice something. This woman is trusted. She is capable. She handles her business and she contributes. She is praised by her husband. She is not unseen, overlooked, and made to feel less than. All right, let's go a little deeper. In Ephesians, in the same way, this woman's husband it says husbands should love their wives as they love their own bodies. They are to feed and care for and nurture her. So we see here that becoming a wife was never meant to shrink you. It was really actually meant to nurture you. Becoming a wife starts from being in a nurturing relationship. And look, I had to start here because I need us to go back and see what this all was supposed to look like from the beginning. And so let's talk about some of the real questions about many women face in becoming a wife. Because yes, we now get a picture of what a wife should be and how a wife should be nurtured and how a wife is what all of the qualities of being a wife. But I know as you have, many women have questions when facing and becoming a wife. Here are some. How do I become a wife while setting healthy boundaries without feeling guilty? How do I communicate my needs clearly before resentment builds? And how do I still become in a relationship that doesn't nurture who I am becoming? So here are some practical steps that you may want to consider. Because setting these boundaries in the relationship is not about pushing your partner away. It is about protecting your peace, your energy, and the health of the relationship for both of you. So boundaries help love feel safe, not heavy. And so here are 5 simple steps to begin. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to get clear about what it is you really need. Before you say anything, sit quietly and ask yourself, what is making me feel tired, upset, unseen, or whatever emotion that you're having? Neglected, whatever it is that you're feeling. And then write that down and be specific about what it is and what it is, the need that you have. Because if you cannot ask it clearly, then you're not being clear. So how can someone follow something that you haven't made really plain? Then, importantly, is to say it calmly and directly. And this is hard because most of us as women, when we're talking to our to our partner, a lot of times we wait until we are, on 10. And so calmly and directly sometimes don't always pan out for us. But if we wanted to really to have a real results, then we have to speak in a calm tone, use clear and kind words, because this really actually works better than us becoming silent, because that's what a lot of times we'll do is we'll show it in our personality first. We'll act out and, try to give subtle clues, and those clues go unnoticed because a lot of times they don't know what that means. And then here comes the explosion. So make sure that we are doing it in a calm and being very direct with what it is that we want and what we need. And then make the boundaries simple and durable. Let's start small. Do not try to fix everything at once, because sometimes, we get that list going and then we start going da 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 da, and then it gets all muddled and confused. So take small steps, which are easy to accept and also to repeat, and for the person to be able to take action. Then we got to follow through with our actions. Boundaries are not just word saying or just getting something off your chest. They are choices that you now have to stand by. So you want to protect your peace without punishment. Make sure that you have some support in your life. Make sure that that the boundaries that they are being honored. Now, what to do when your boundaries are not respected? I'm going to go through these briefly, but I talk about this more and I go into more details in the Becomers newsletter, and you can read it for free, and I encourage you to subscribe to it so that you can get it right to your email inbox. And so here we go. These are the things that you can do if your boundaries are not respected. Stay calm, but you got to stay consistent. You repeat your need without attacking, and try to stay away from over explaining, because sometimes we'll go through that whole process again, explain the whole thing, and it gets lost. So this is when we really want results. We're not just venting. Venting gets you nowhere. Nobody's listening. You vent, you have an argument, and then you go back, and then a couple of days you vent and you have an argument, and it just keeps that cycle going on in your life and in your relationship. You are allowed to have natural consequences. That's another thing, is when those boundaries are not respected, there should be natural consequences. And when we talk about consequences, we're not talking about retaliation. We're not talking about not speaking to someone. We're not talking about all of the behaviors that a lot of times we as human beings like to revert to when we feel like we're not being heard, when we feel like we're not being seen. I'm talking about setting down some boundaries of maybe prioritizing that thing that you really are asking. And you can choose not to carry it, what you already said that you could not carry. And so that is going to be a very balanced approach. And like I said, I talk about it more in the newsletter, and we'll go into more details about how we're not going to set boundaries where we're going to be offensive or attack somebody, or we're not setting boundaries where we're going to play games, because this is not all about playing games. When we're becoming something, we're trying to get to the empowerment part. And when you're playing games, you cannot become empowered. What happens is you lessen yourself, because you have to get down dirty when you want to play games. So if you are still ignored, then there is counseling and support groups, and a lot of times there is a serious soul searching that needs to take place with you and also with your partner. But in this week's Become a newsletter, as I said, we will dive into this a little bit more deeper. Now, boundaries are not selfish. Actually, they lower your stress. It can reduce resentment. And if done correctly, it can increase your relationship satisfaction. And that's not just for you. That makes it great for you and your partner. Because the goal when you say I do is to have a lifelong relationship with someone, and it be a relationship that you can enjoy. Now, we know that all relationships don't have that. And so I don't want to come on and try to make you feel pressured, or make you feel bad, or make you feel indifferent, because every relationship is not because you've done something wrong. Sometimes people are not, it takes two in order for you to have a great relationship. But this today is not just about the relationship. This is about you as a woman being able to still be empowered, to still feel seen, to still feel heard, and to feel that you are still growing. So we want to make sure that you keep becoming, even inside your relationship. Your growth really matters. Women who continue personal growth goals also have a higher self-worth and a higher satisfaction. So you can still become even if you're in a relationship where you don't feel supported. In becoming, keep one goal just for you. Take that class. Start the business idea. Go to therapy. Pray and journal. Become the thing and become empowered. If your relationship feels like it does not nurture your growth, I need you, and this is so important. If you don't get anything else from this episode today, I need you to start nurturing yourself while inviting your spouse into the conversation, because you always want to invite them into the conversation. But if they never come into that conversation and you decide that you're going to stay in that relationship, you've got to start nurturing yourself. Because becoming does not stop at I do. That is where it all begins. Busy woman, busy wife, I want you to hear me. You can be loving and still have limits. You can be supportive and still have dreams. You can be a wife and still be becoming and still grow. And if you are in a hard place right now, this is not about shame. It is not. It is really about awareness. So ask yourself tonight, where have I gone silent? Where do I need to speak up? Where do I need to grow? And if you've already done those things, don't be afraid. Don't dumb down. Remember, God created you to rule and to govern together. Take your position. He looked at you and said that you was created, when he created you, that you was good. So now, your next step. What becoming goals are you going to work on this week? If you haven't started, you can start today. I personally am working on my health goals this week. Therefore, I'm going to get my blood work done, and I'm getting my annual physical completed as part of my health goals. So I want you to leave me a comment to let me know what you are becoming, and what goals are you working on, and which goals are you going to work on particularly for the week. Because what I understand is that in order for us to accomplish our life goals, or even those of you who made goals for 2026, they have to be broken down into weekly goals. And I also encourage you to have daily goals, because daily goals help you to get to your weekly goal, and weekly goals help you to get to your yearly goals, and yearly goals help you to get to, even some of you who are really, really good, 5 years, 10 years out, you will accomplish that thing. Because if you start now and you work on it, guess what? You're going to see growth at the end. You're going to see some change. at the end, and you're going to be able to have something concrete that you can say really changed in your life. Now, you can also reach me on Substack.com to connect about your becoming goals. Even if you haven't started or you're not going to necessarily take the process, if you want to show me that you're supporting what I'm doing, then just leave me an emoji or just put a hashtag becoming in the comments to let me know you are still with me. And for those of you who have not joined in this becoming process, but you want to, it is not too late to listen, to follow, subscribe, and then keep listening to the podcast, Momafey Becoming Me podcast. And this is available on Momafey-HT and you can subscribe over there on Substack.com. It's on the Motivate Moment by Momafey. This is one of 3 podcasts that you can listen to, and you won't miss a single episode because the episode will come straight to your email inbox. And remember, I talked about that Becoming Me newsletter. It is really an extension of each week's episode. And remember, I told you I'm going to give you more about when your partner does not try to work with your boundaries, or even sometimes it's just not being able to process and grow, and maybe you're not getting the nurture that you need in the relationship to the level that you really want. We are going to explore all of that in this week's Becomers newsletter. And if you want more information on all of this that I talked about today, as far as becoming, you can go to my website, which is momafeyhometraining.com/becoming me 2026. I have a whole page with all of this on that page. And if you want to see what I'm doing, follow me at Momafey-HT on all social media platforms. And you'll get to see what I look like, and you'll get to see what I'm up to. Now, next week, we are definitely going to step into becoming a mom. Just because it is God's will does not mean that it will be easy. And we're going to explore what that really means. We're also going to talk about how to balance motherhood without losing who you are, how to manage emotional overload and invisible labor. And I do have a whole series on invisible. I feel invisible. That's on the Small Steps, Big Change podcast on Substack and on Podbean. And I also how to move from survival mode and being a present, intentional parenting. I also have that on the Small Steps, Big Change podcast too. So you can look at intentional parenting. But we're going to talk about it on next week as it relates to you as a mom, because this is more about, on this particular podcast, it's more about you as a woman. And being a parent is about you, but it's also about the child. So here is our anchor for this week. A wife is not a woman who disappears. She is a woman who decides to grow in her purpose, love from a place of power, and she protects her own becoming. So I want to encourage you to stay with the process, complete your goals for this week, do not quit halfway, and you are not behind. You are becoming. I'll see you next time.